For Kiteezi will come later. I'm saying, Honorable Minister for Kiteezi, you will come in later during questions, or you have anything useful to add on? Thank you. Debate opens now, and I'm starting with the Shadow Minister for Kiteezi.
Right, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to discuss the biggest challenge Kampala capital city has. Right, Honorable, Kampala generates 2,500 tons of garbage every day, but only 1,200 is collected by KCCA, including a consortium of contractors that were appointed by KCCA to deal with the garbage. Kiteezi was commissioned in 1996, and it was supposed to work for about 10 years. But unfortunately, we have had reports talking about decommissioning. We have had Asians recommending decommissioning of Kiteezi in vain. So this is not actually a natural disaster, but it has been induced by human. And there are very many institutions that are to blame, including Parliament, our own Committee of Budget. For the last 8 years, right, Honorable, the Committee of Presidential Affairs has recommended, I have the reports here, monies for the decommissioning of Kiteezi, but the Budget Committee has not. And Cabinet and the Executive and the President has not at all prioritized this. For that reason, I table the committee reports. Right on. Including the alternative, the committee report of Presidential Affairs of financial year 2020, 2022, 2023. I lay. These are extracts of report of the committee.
Procedure. Whenever submitted.
Mr. Speaker, because you told me not to read a statement.
You are debating, Honorable.
Yes, I'm debating. You told me not to read my statement. Right, Honorable, I want to emphasize that they have always recommended in a range of 30 to 60 billion for both decommissioning and starting Kiteezi, Dundu. Despite the fact that, according to me and us, Dundu is unsustainable because Dundu is 45 kilometers away from the city center. And ferrying garbage from Kampala to Dundu won't be viable, and therefore we need a more sustainable approach. 80% of the garbage that we generate in the city is biodegradable. And considering that Uganda is an agricultural country, there is need to manufacture manure from this resource, because the garbage is garbage when it has no further use. Garbage can be a very good resource, and therefore, that is one of the ways. For that cannot be recycled and converted can be burnt, and we get energy, which will basically help us to have fuel. Right Honorable, when you talk about how funding has been given to KCCA, for the last, since 2011, KCC was given in 2011, KCC was given 3.1 billion for managing Kiteezi. And they have never increased that money. They have only reduced. So you cannot, where fuel has increased, you cannot fail to increase the budget of running Kiteezi, which is the only facility that we have as a dump site. By the way, it does not qualify to be a landfill. It is a dump site because it actually does not qualify. Therefore, it's important, as I conclude, that the people around Kiteezi, because they own the land and it's within the Constitution of Uganda, under Article 26(1), that the people have a right to own property. Government cannot come all of a sudden and say, we are telling you go away without even a plan, a resettlement plan, a clear resettlement plan. Therefore, it's important that as we discuss, let government make a conclusive plan to resettle our people and perhaps compensate them, because the money is there. The money is available. The money that we have been giving to the sugar factories, the money that we have been giving to Rocco, the money that we are going to utilize for the regional parliaments. We can for starters utilize that money to resettle our people. For starters, we can postpone the regional parliaments and utilize that money for basically. Right Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Barimwezo. Thank you, Honorable. Let's give your colleagues a chance. Also, I want to...
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. It is saddening, and I want to confirm that Kiteezi is a parish under Kasanga Town Council, the constituency being Kyadondo East. The affected villages of Lusanja, Kiteetika, and Masoli Parish existed way back. Actually, by the time the landfill was commissioned or gazetted in 1996, Kiteezi and Lusanja existed, and the people had their own land. It is actually the landfill that found the people, not the people settling near the landfill. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, it is saddening, just as we joined the parliament, this particular parliament. In September 2021, I petitioned the parliament and government on this floor and informed the House and government of the worsening state and condition of the landfill. Actually, a few days after, I went to the landfill with the State Minister for Kampala and the Deputy Executive Director for Kampala. Water flooding from the landfill had taken away people's houses. Part of our demands was for KCCA to station standby engineers on site so that they could avert the flooding, maintain the landfill, and regularly caution or alert the neighbors in the event of any risk. Unfortunately, on Saturday, with no alert, with no proof of a standby KCCA engineer or technical person. It is reported and narrated by the witnesses, not even as reported by the media. The witnesses are reporting that it was a blast that blew up the sand and garbage in the air with smoke, and then it came down covering people's houses. That's the narrative from the residents. They even continue to allege that for months they saw Chinese contractors installing pipes in the heap of garbage, because there were two heaps. There's a new heap and the old heap. Now the old heap is the one where the Chinese installed alleged pipes. And when the locals questioned, these Chinese briefed them, according to the narrative from the village, the locals, that they are extracting gas. KCCA must come out open. What were the Chinese doing? We don't want to imagine and assume that it was a mere slide by the landfill. There are more likelihood that it was either an accident or an intentional mistake or negligence by either the Chinese or even KCCA. And even if it was the contractors, it was in full knowledge of KCCA. No one has mentioned that, not even in the Prime Minister's statement. Equally, when this tragedy happened, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I beg for your indulgence because I'm the area MP, and I'm sorry for taking long, much as all of you have issues to add. Colleagues, when this tragedy befell, it is the locals who did the first and initial rescue, using hands, hose, and pangas. We provided them with equally gloves. And every person reported to have been retrieved alive was actually retrieved by the locals, not government, not KCCA, not even police. When police came, they came with hundreds of servicemen, some in uniform, some ununiformed. By the time I arrived, I was there with the Minister for Disaster. The police themselves and some of their servicemen in plain clothes tried even to stop me from accessing. Of course, they had prior knowledge that for us, we wanted to find out what were the Chinese doing. We wanted to dig out and identify the positions that had been reported by the locals. As we speak now, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, part of the complaint we are having on ground, true, there are so many agencies on ground. And true, we have held meetings, both with the Minister, the Prime Minister, and so many other agencies. But one of the concerns that has remained a constant is that the rescue operations are only done during the day. From Saturday, it is even saddening that people had to die. They were buried beyond the garbage. KCCA and this government could not proceed with the rescue efforts overnight. I was there at midnight. People were still crying under the garbage. Because in the first rescue efforts, people were following up, those who were knocking up and were digging those particular spots. The police and the militants chased us away. They chased us away, and I've been telling them and the minister that allow these locals to point at their houses. Maybe when you dig there, you can save some remaining lives. It has not happened. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, these are also human. What we had is a purported condolence message from Mr. Museveni, alleging that these are encroachers near the landfill. These are lawful owners with land titles. Majority are owners of Milo and some Bibanja owners. It is very saddening to find your people being branded encroachers after being killed by the state. Who was in charge of the landfill? Under which law do neighbors owe a duty to protect themselves against actions of a neighbor? Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues,
Order, honorable colleagues. Let the area member of parliament Let the area member plan. On some of these situations, but let's listen. Honorable, you can try to conclude.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, our immediate prayer is for government to initiate rescue efforts day and night, because these are lives. We don't want to say we have lost all the hope, much as our hope has reduced. But at least rescue efforts can go on day and night. On Saturday, the minister was there, and KCC and other agencies. They promised to commence rescue efforts overnight and pray to offer light. I heard the Prime Minister, the minister thanking KCCA. They brought trucks for lights. When I went to the site around midnight, the generator for the lights was not working and functional, and neither was anyone standing by to even operate the machines. We are demanding that this rescue effort must be done day and night. Equally, for a number of our people who were injured during this crisis, we heard of condolences and support of 200, now 1 million. In this country, where can you get medication with a lost wound where can you get medication at 1 million? Let's talk about treating our people fully. Equally, when it comes to resettlement, it is true. There are some few houses which are closer to the landfill, and indeed they are at risk. But we are saying, as we discuss the question of resettling them in the tent, our people who had their own houses and land won't be resettled in the tents for the rest of their lives. We want a comprehensive approach that would talk about how do you compensate these people, where are they going. They cannot be taken to stay in the tents forever. These are people, some with families. When it comes to equally those in the tents, the tragedy befell on Saturday. The whole of Saturday, they had promised with the Red Cross and others to put a tent. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the tent was placed in the night. Most of the victims had to seek shelter from neighbors. I was there overnight. And even when the tent was raised, the Minister for Disaster had promised that they're going to offer beddings and other items. They were only delivered yesterday, some of them. Just yesterday, and it befell on Saturday. Where is the preparedness of government? Because these are lives. And that's why the minister is mentioning a small number. Because people don't see hope in going in that would be tent. They don't see any hope, because by Saturday, even when they raised the tents, there was nothing inside the tent. Even the toilet came 7 hours later, the portable toilet. And these are lives you are putting in a tent. Where is the preparedness and the urgency in rescuing and supporting these people? Honorable Speaker and colleagues, as I conclude, when it comes to the rescue efforts, part of the concerns of the locals is the security organs brought in their own people in plain clothes who they are working with. Those same people working with security blocked the rightful residents, including myself as the area MP initially, until it had to be the intervention of the minister and the IGP. And we are telling them we are the people who know. Indeed, the Prime Minister was embarrassed on ground when she inquired from one of the people working with the police, and that person could not identify the relative he is looking for. There is a possibility that there are some people who are pressed to own bodies not belonging to themselves, and want to understand what is being done at the mortuary to ensure that the bodies are handed to rightful relatives. Because there is a likelihood, and even those who are right, I interacted with one of the family which claimed that they were being charged to retrieve their body from the city mortuary. I brought it to the attention of the Minister for Kampala and the Prime Minister on ground. We need a clear position and commitment that these people are going to be supported, compensated, and get their bodies for free. It is KCCA responsibility and government. Government must come out open and own up this saga and make a promise to compensate and fully compensate these people. As I conclude, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues,
I will conclude this time.
we are very sad. We are very sad as people of Chadondo East. We are very sad as the people of Kiteezi and Rusanja. But I want to bring to your attention, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, that a number of these victims are from your areas. Actually, when I was on ground overnight, I saw a family of 20 stranded outside, covering themselves and I got interested and inquired. They told me they had traveled from Mumbare. Another family had traveled from Guru. And these people are saying that the family members are still missing, buried by the sun. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, when the Prime Minister visited Lusanya yesterday, I brought to their attention that some of these families are not from here, but they have come to identify their bodies. The rescue exercise has delayed. How do we support them? The Prime Minister said we cannot support them. These are your people. They are there waiting for bodies of their relatives. They traveled from your areas. They don't have a house. I pleaded with the Prime Minister that allow some of these people, you screen them and allow them to shelter in the tent because they are staying outside. When you see them, you may think they are residents of our area. No, they traveled from your own areas, you people here, you members here. When I brought the attention of the Prime Minister.
Honorable Mwada, I know it's very emotional and all that, okay? But just conclude, please. Use 1 minute to conclude that.
My prayer and my request is that even these people who traveled from distant areas must be supported. The Prime Minister rejected that proposal with the ministers, and I'm bringing it to your attention because they travel from your own areas. Who is going to support them? They are staying outside because the rescue effort is ongoing. They haven't received their own bodies. What should they do? And then last, the locals are requested to be allowed to identify positions of their own houses. Much as they were chased from the landfill, but they are saying they know the exact location of their houses. They wanted to support and assist the police. We requested that at least they identify one relative, one family member at a go. They take that member down to identify the location of their house. Because these excavators are going step by step. They may take months to reach. There are even some KCCA workers who are trapped in a KCCA small truck. They are still under the garbage. But KCCA is not speaking about it. There are some KCCA workers who are operating a smaller machine. They were also covered. The distance from where the excavators have reached to where they are is still long. And the coverage is not even a quarter so far in terms of the coverage. We must make all efforts and advocacy that the rescue is speeded up and we support our people. It is very saddening, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues.
Thank you. Now, Honorable Mwada, we join you to pray for the souls of our colleagues and whatever can be done to support the rescue efforts. You know, even those who are risking their lives to carry out the rescue. Because as you've said, any time it can also fall on those ones. So we need to give more support to those who are carrying out the rescue and everyone who can make a contribution. Now, colleagues, from the submission of Honorable Mwada and the Minister for Shadow Minister for Kampala, I think I'll just first request for quick responses because some of the issues don't need to get lost into the major issues. No. Honorable Abdara, you know, in your area, that's where they are planning to take. So I will give you a chance. But let me first ask the Minister for KCCA because some of the allegations made need to be cleared on the spot. Then the Minister for Disaster will come.
Right, Honorable Speaker. The Minister of Kampala in 2018 reported to government that Kiteezi Landfill had reached its capacity. There was need to decommission it at that time. Unfortunately, there was no resources allocated towards this activity. However, KCC went ahead to identify and procure land in Dondo. This such Kiteezi land is used by Mukono, Kampala District, Wakiso, and some other areas because Kiteezi is located in Wakiso District. So we share the landfill. Going forward, compensation compensation, I think the Prime Minister talked about the compensation of those people, but this is still an emergency. We cannot talk about the compensation when we still have bodies down there. And we still to register all those people who are there. That's why we requested you boss to come on board to assist us, tell us how many people were there and how many should we, and how many are we expecting there. Because right from Saturday, they were telling us 1,000 people, 2,000 people. That is a small area. We don't know how many people were affected. My area MP has said that there was no person from KCCA for maintenance. But you've said, as you are ending up, that KCCA, the truck was also down there. So that means that statement cannot be true. There was the maintenance truck, which was on board, which was also affected. We have not talked about it because it's still down there, and when we are counting, we also say our vehicle is still down there, and our people are still down there, the KCCA people. Yes. About the Chinese who are on site, Right Honorable Speaker and members, I've not seen any Chinese on site, and I cannot comment on that. Those are just allegations. Because we don't have any investor around there by a Chinese. There is no Chinese there on site.
Information. I got confirmation from the
Starting with the Ministerial policy statements, 2018, 2019, 2020. Since then, the requests have been submitted every financial year. In 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, I myself came up with a policy statement, but nothing was done. We were referred back as unfunded priorities. The Parliament Committee recommended that an allocation of 20 billion be extended to KCCA in 2019-2020. A budget to enable authority commence on the proposed interventions, and that funding gap be spread over the multiple financial years. However, this remained as an unfunded priority. Right Honorable Speaker, I think at one time we even visited Kiteezi Landfill with members of Parliament. And we thought maybe since they have seen the problems, they are going to assist us with the budget. But up to this time, nothing has been done. So our prayer is...
No, Minister, you don't have prayers from who? From your own government? You're the government. We need answers. We don't need prayers now from you.
Right Honorable Speaker, as KCCA, we have done a lot. We have talked to the investors, who are willing to assist us. First thing, if we cannot decommission this land, we have looked for investors, and right now we have 2 investors who are willing to work with us. But just the tariffs were a bit high, and we think if we work as Parliament and Cabinet, we can come up with a resolution. Others have not just been seated, have been working on this issue. We knew this issue since 2018, and it has been ongoing. It's Parliament and Cabinet to start working on that issue. But others, we are also sorry for what took place on Saturday, and we are going to work hand in hand with everybody to see that at least something is done.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you. Minister for Disaster.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, first of all, I want to respond to some few issues raised. Right Honourable Speaker, when we were on ground with the Member of Parliament, when I arrived and I found the Member of Parliament was being stopped, I intervened and inquired from the security. And they told me they didn't want the huge number of the team the Member of Parliament was moving with to access the areas which were dangerous, because those people would also be at a risk. And that is why they were stopping him. And later on, when he talked to his team, they stayed back, he came on board, and we continued working together. Right Honorable Speaker, issues of disaster requires emergency response. And sometimes, when something has just happened, and that's why I did mention that I want to thank the locals in that area. There was shift to come in and respond. As on the side of government, we had to assemble a team because the Ministry of Disaster doesn't respond alone. The Ministry of Works came on board, UPDF and the rest came on board, and that's how we were able to execute what we did. Now, the tent that was temporarily provided is to provide shelter to those whose homes were affected and didn't have where to go. And we realized it would be very important that food is provided for them immediately. And, Right Honorable Speaker, I delivered food that very day. The items, the non-food items that the Member of Parliament talked about could not be distributed immediately because we needed to mobilize people to come, to pass information to them. And when I held a meeting with the local leaders, requested them to give directions to the people, let them know that there is a tent provided for them. They rolled on and continued mobilizing. People kept on coming. And today, right now, as I speak, Right Honorable Speaker, we have 85 people in the tent. And the number still continues to increase. We are going to continue providing them food and all the necessary requirements. As government looks into the details of the compensation, how it will be done, work on the list, because these are things you can't rush into doing it, because you need a clear data of those who are affected. Right Honorable Speaker, 100,000 being charged at the mortuary is not true. When I got this information, I got in touch with the officer at the Ministry of Health, and he said if anybody is asking for money, it could be conmen. I shared the contacts of the person at the mortuary with the local leaders and told them if anybody asks for money, they should let me know. If there is anyone who has been asked for money, I really request that you give the details and that money will be refunded. Make this clear that as we speak now, the Prime Minister is chairing a meeting on how we can handle issues of compensation and the welfare of our people who are affected. And I want to conclude by asserting that government and the Office of the Prime Minister is still committed to doing everything it takes that our people who are affected in Kiteezi are supported amicably. I thank you.
To the extent that we even went to the field together with them. Our advice was very clear to them that they needed to fast-track the decommissioning of Kiteezi landfill. It is very unfortunate that up to now it has not taken place. But I must assure you that Uganda is losing a lot of money due to waste-related issues. About $1 trillion shillings annually due to waste-related issues. Because what we have in Kiteezi is not a landfill. What we have in Kiteezi is a dumping site. I don't see any landfill in Uganda. A landfill must have full landfill engineering technology, and which we are not doing. And then amount of waste. That waste can be turned into wealth. We have methane there, which can be tapped and be used. We have so many other gases that can be tapped and be used. We even recommended that investors should be encouraged to come and tap that waste so that we can use that money to turn that waste into energy. And this is what we agreed as a country. But the speed at which these things are taking place is so slow. Then number two, there are a number of projects, including projects from the World Bank, which were implemented for waste management in Kampala by KCCA. If you do tracking of those projects, you are likely to see that the monies were not well spent on waste management in Kampala. Honorable members, My prayer is that we must fast track the alternative land, and the alternative land must have a fully fledged landfill engineering. Although landfill is outdated, but in Africa we can still use if it is with the engineering. And then the materials which we can tap from there, like methane, carbon dioxide, we can tap them and turn the waste into energy. That Kiteezi landfill can generate about 6.5 megawatts of electricity, the same size of Nyagak 3. So you see the material we are spending in Nyagak 3, and yet we can tap electricity from here, 6.5 megawatts. So we really, and then it brings me to the issue of corruption. There are many investors who are coming to the Ministry of Energy. They want to turn waste into energy. When they charge when they give the cost of doing that business, some people want to, that figure inflated. That should stop if we really want to manage this economy. I want to thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Kazan.
Is our policy on waste management and disposal. Right, Honorable Minister, it's not only Kampala. There is Kiteezi waiting to happen in every other city around this country, in every other municipality and trading center and town council. Where is our policy in as far as waste management is concerned? And if we cannot manage Kiteezi, which is a national disposal, a national center for disposal, then how ready are we to manage other Kiteezis in other areas? Right, Honorable Speaker, let me say this. And this policy would now point us to planning and budgeting and adoption of modern waste management and disposal. I have seen, because when it rains in Uganda, because waste is just dumped, it's not inside, it is carried away. We end up inhaling and drinking this dirty water. So the disaster management policy must be highlighted here, and this is the place for it. This is what we should be demanding. Not budget, because budget must point to a policy, must point to a plan, must point to a strategy that we must fund. Incineration. Our town councils, right, Honorable Speaker, majority of the waste that we have in Kampala is actually transported from upcountry. Why should we bring in pills to Kampala, agricultural things? If that policy was there, that would be managed at source. I want the minister and the two ministers to address this House on the policy formulation and disposal. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy Louise.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I am a legal service provider in this country, and we have presented these people to KCCA formally, but they have continuously rejected anybody who comes in to develop Kiteezi. I don't know what the intention and the motivation is, but this should be really clearly put out in the open. There have been several people who have wanted to develop that area. They have been frustrated by KCCA up to today. Right, Honorable Speaker, can we have this clarified, whether they want those investors or not?
Thank you. Honorable Abdallah. Honorable Christine.
Thank you, Right, Honorable Speaker. I concur with the submission of my colleague Taylor.
Procedure, Honorable. No, there is a procedure matter. No, that take your seat. There is a procedure matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We should look at how to resolve the matter, but not in the blame game, because at this point we need to find solution. But when you look at the debate, it's taking a direction of what happened, what was not done right. Are we proceeding right, Mr. Speaker? To keep debating on what never went wrong, and we do not find solutions, because I want to support my honorable colleague, the area MP. He made a very precise and well-articulated statement with all the details that we want to know about this. I think it will be prudent. We allow government to give us answers to that, or find solutions that can put this matter to rest for now, instead of us blaming and blaming and blaming. Honorable Speaker, are we moving right? Or can we also, Mr. Speaker, push the ministry or the government to give us a detailed investigative report on who went wrong, who never did what, and then possibly we can debate that instead of us blaming and blaming without having precise answers. I'm seeking your guidance, Mr. Speaker.
Of course, even when you're in my position here, this is a very where emotions are high and all that. But what Honorable Enos is raising is simple: that we should debate while contributing on how we can handle the emergency. For now, we handle issues of the emergency. Because I know this issue requires extensive investigation. You have heard like the issues raised by the Honorable Mwada. They are not issues you cannot just either take on their face value or dismiss when they are issues being raised by the community. So all these issues need to be investigated. So can we, Honorable colleague, can our debate help guide in as far as handling the emergency situation for now is concerned? And then I will guide at the end on what we are going to do. Honorable Abdallah Chiwanuka.
Mukono North, which is 22 kilometers from Kampala, via Gayaza Road, when you take that route. And the immediate parish, that is Dundu, which is bordering Mukono and Chira municipality. It is a densely populated parish, and 10 years back when KCCA purchased this land, it very well knew that the area has people. They were never notified about their intention to use the land. The land was gazetted as purely a residential area. And we are imagining shifting disaster from Kampala to our area. We don't know how the government does its work, but few weeks back we are here debating about the possible eviction which happened in UVG. Now here is the catastrophic eviction which is happening at Kiteezi. The way forward, Honorable Minister, Dundu is purely gazetted by Mukono District as a residential area. We are ready to accommodate those people. You shift them to Dundu and retain the land, shift all the machines to Kiteezi, then shifting the problems as you are cleaning Kampala, you are dirtening Mukono. We can't contemplate and we are not ready to receive and accept your garbage and waste. That is the position of, it is very unfortunate, right, Honorable Speaker. We tried several times to engage the minister, to engage the directors at KCCA. Several people, as Honorable Taylor has stated it, are ready to invest in waste. Are ready, and they are approaching us, ready to invest in the waste. But the investment which the government is willing to accept, for example, in power, the tariff is 5 cents. Colleagues, you are well aware that Kachira contributes on the national grid, and they are contributing at 8 cents. And recently Karuma at 18 cents. Why this one frustrating this investment at 5 cents? You can easily know that.
Karuma at 18 cents? I think you need to get your facts right.
I'll cross-check that. Honorable Speaker.
Karma shouldn't be more than 5 US cents per kilowatt hour.
Yes,
4.7 US cents.
As a way forward, we have already proposed the compensation mode to shift these people to Dundu on that land which is purely gazetted as a residential land. And you also do a survey with Singapore. We have some few years back, we are ahead of Singapore. Singapore, how it has managed to do with waste management. We can take a few days to Singapore, or even in Rwanda, how they have managed it. some people here hate to compare us with Rwanda, but please accept and go and you learn some few lessons from Rwanda, how they have managed to do with waste. Maybe with that we can, even you don't need big land, you can do that management at 10 acres, even if it is a big city like Kampala. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable question.
Healthcare waste management guidelines, the e-waste management guidelines, the sector strategy for organic waste management guidelines. We have the WASH guidelines, and the only challenge is the enforcement of these guidelines. Right, Honorable Speaker, NEMA in 2020 advised the KCCA. Actually, it was reminding them that they had refused to renew the licensing of the activity by 2013. And 2020, they were reminding them not to allow further garbage disposal because the leakage treatment plant was not fully operational at that place. The effluent discharge was going direct to the water streams, and then there was no regular monitoring of effluent and the receiving environment. The receiving environment. So NEMA had advised by 2013, from 2013, the contractors were not licensed to continue using the landfill. So, Right Honorable Speaker, NEMA does not have enough money to enforce. But in the environment and impact assessments of these contractors, they pledged that they would fulfill some of the requirements using their money. So we are wondering, if they did not use the money to fulfill the requirements, Right Honorable Speaker, I don't believe in a blame game, but there must be some people responsible for compensating the loss and losing some of their monies and also losing their jobs and also losing the contracts. So there are some responsible institutions that have to report back to us. Right Honorable Speaker, Kiteezi, with all the standards, is not a landfill. And I have shared the NEMA regulations on landfill on your WhatsApps, you can check. And if you try to qualify, actually, in Uganda we don't have any appropriate landfill. And let's use this scenario to check ourselves and even check in our local governments. Because this is an eye-opener. We don't need to lose more people. Right, Honorable Speaker? We are supposed also to go in some preventive mechanisms. Waste collection at source. All of us must go and sensitize our people on the need for us to collect garbage while separating this garbage. We cannot look at these technologies that our colleagues are proposing when we still have the catchment of waste in totality. Plastics must be different, organic waste must be different, but when you go to Kiteezi, actually those Chinese were collecting Buvera. That's what they told me. That is why KCCA doesn't. They were collecting plastics like any other company. So it is very important at the moment to look at the budget solver enforcement of some of these provisions, especially to NEMA and the KCCA. Every time NEMA was reminding KCCA would respond that there are no funds. And so we are supposed to take waste management as a priority for the city. Likewise, the issue of sewage management. We always talk about National Water and Sewerage Corporation, but most of our emphasis has always been on water and little on sewage. These are national issues. As climate change activists, we cannot leave our community to be exposed to methane to this level. Now the eruptions were underneath. What could happen if the eruptions were in the atmosphere? Members, this is a challenge to all of us, and let's task all our institutions to be responsible, and also our practices from household level as the source of garbage to be cognizant of waste management. I thank you.
Honorable Mero.
What are our priorities in this country? Do we have to buy land before we do a feasibility study to see that place can stand the test of time? Because now the 134 acres in Dundu is idle. We are having the Kiteezi problem, which they had promised by the time they were pushing the committee to give the money, which we worked very hard to get the money to buy or what? So I'm just asking, Mr. Speaker, if government could do the right thing at the right time, I think we should be very fair. We have the best laws in these countries, but implementation has failed just because of one thing, corruption. KCCA be held accountable. They should come and account to this house. Where they put the money, they received it from here. Because we can't take part of this blame to say that the house did not give it and thought it was a good idea. We visited Kiteezi, we visited Dundu, where the land is. What has happened? We got their graders. What happened? That they did not decommission and start using the other land. Mr. Speaker, there's a challenge. And if we're fighting corruption, we should not fight corruption haphazardly. Let's fight corruption from the root. This business of apportioning blame cannot work here. I think we need to learn how to put our priorities the right way. What is priority is put as an unfunded priority. And what is useless is where we put in money, which doesn't benefit the local people. It is very painful because these people who have died, you don't know where they are coming from. Some of them are from our places. But even if they are not from our places, they are human beings, they are entitled to life. What were we doing to decommission this place? Mr. Speaker, I beg that KCCA be investigated and they thoroughly declare where they put it. Because we bought that land at a very high price than expected. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I would like to thank the sad situation, but it should help us to reflect deeply and begin to take our jobs seriously.
Honorable Kwaringa.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. It is validates me. Tomorrow is someone else. And in my language, I can loosely translate to say that when a stick beats your co-wife, you actually are supposed to burn it into ashes because you could be the next target. Right Honourable Speaker, one of the things that has actually missed from the minister's statement is the nature of the emergency of the state of the road to Kiteezi. I'm even wondering, how did they get there to rescue the people? The road is in such a terrible state that it's an emergency itself. For over 7 years, those garbage trucks go throwing garbage, and now they are diverting to pass to Chanja, spreading the methane and all the dirt. Honourable Minister, due respect for the work you've done, but that is one thing you have missed, and you ought to track it. Secondly, I think we all need to be true to ourselves. You pass in the city, KCC now has just had a project where they are putting little bins alongside the road. It's a shame how money can be wasted. The basics of waste management, if cannot come from KCCA, you wonder who will follow. Nobody. It is very clear, my sister here, Christine, has said it. You should set up a learning example. Put bins that separate garbage in its different categories. But if you can't do that, which other Ugandan will do it in their home? So the question for me, after all the cries, Kiteezi has been on the red flag. I live along that road for as many years as possible, but you still fail government and make us look bad. So you should be held accountable. And as I conclude, Right Honourable Speaker, I said we should ban this stick right here. Mbarasite now, we are in disarray. The Kenkombe dumping site, the people have chased us, including where we bury people. So if Kampala, that is an attraction of an international level, what will happen to us? Mbarara, Rira, Nakasongora, that is yearning to have a city. So I think every coin must be accounted for. For me, I have no kind words for KCCA. We need to see you act. The people have died. We need, Right Honourable, to come here with an action plan. If we can have Kira Motors in this country produce a bus, why can't we manage our waste? Because Unfortunately, we are no longer going to be killed by natural disasters. No, we are now going to be killed by man-made degrading of our motherland. When Mother Earth cries, it's unstoppable. So I would like to implore you, Right Honorable, that you save us to come here again. Government should produce an action that translates into a budget. At least we have one plant that can process our waste, and we are losing opportunities for jobs for young people. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Right Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Faringa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I'd like to thank the President for the assistance at least he has given to the families, those that have lost their loved ones. But there's one thing that the Minister highlighted, that they were unable to identify some of the dead. So I wanted to find out from the Honorable Minister whether they have any plan of conducting a DNA on some of those bodies, because you may find maybe those who have already been identified, those who are already dead, could be the owners of those children who are also dead. So you need to do some DNA. Then secondly, whereas we are discussing the issue of garbage, there is also an impending disaster on sewage management. You discover that many of our family homes, if not all of them, are having septic tanks. In modern states, there is a better way of doing it. So I would like also to explore the House to see how they can, as the Minister reports here next, with maybe a comprehensive report, they should also be addressing the issue of sewage management. And then, lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, I know and I'm aware that these companies that are involved in collecting garbage from our homes do charge a fee in order to help us collect that garbage. But I don't know.
We did this, we did this, we did this. I don't know why you accepted the ministers in a government like this. And I am saying this deliberately, Mr. Speaker, because I have seen here, I have seen the Vice President and the Prime Minister, after their appointment, going to Gulu to thank General Sari. You all have contributed to creating this disaster of one man taking every decision. That's why all of you here, Cabinet, you are here crying. Why didn't you convene a Cabinet meeting and take a decision? You come to Parliament to cry. So what do you want us to do? Mr. Speaker, Kiteezi was one of the villages I represented in the 9th Parliament. The solution cannot be transferring that particular problem to Mukono, as my colleague, the Honorable Abdullah Chiwanuka, has said. People who live in Kiteezi, even before the death, because the waste you put there is not processed, it has attracted all the dogs in the world, all the flies. The trucks that carry garbage from Kampala maybe are supposed to be carrying firewood. They go dropping garbage from every point. The Honorable Chiwanuka Abdallah says he doesn't want garbage to be taken, but they will be passing through my constituency. We will also stop you because we don't want to be turned into another site. Because by the time these trucks reach Kiteezi, they have dropped 10% of the garbage along the way. That's why that whole area smells. And the road from Gayaza goes through to my constituency to Mukono North. Please find another way. Maybe you can ask the President to offer his job.
because we will not allow you to use our villages on your way to Mukono. Mr. Speaker, I have visited National Water. They process and actually turn the waste into fertilizer. I have visited 2 of their sites. What stops you from acquiring equipment to process this garbage that you go and post there? Because that's all that you are doing. And Mr. Speaker, finally, this disaster, the Honorable Mwada has reported here, even when I was the MP for the whole area before it was subdivided, I came here and cried. The World Bank has added. Yeah, for us, you can only cry, we are not in government. I am only surprised that even government people cry. It's understandable. The Honorable Mwada can cry. But when the Minister of Kampala joining him in crying, then you wonder who is in charge. So the World Bank that sponsored that dump site recommended in a report written more than 5 years ago, please decommission. The minister says, we have also been saying the same thing. I don't know where we should go. So the point I am making, finally, Mr. Speaker, first, I don't think it makes sense to transport garbage from Chengera, from Entebbe, from everywhere, and move in one direction. We need to start, because we don't have a landfill, my proposal would be to spread them, to decentralize this service, such that people on Masaka Road can find a place there. People on Mitiana Road can find a space there. But otherwise, this disaster has killed people. But you don't know how many people are now diseased as a result of dropping garbage almost at every point from Kampala to Kiteezi. We may not have done a research. Maybe that needs to be done also. Because I should have appealed to government to do something. But I don't know who I should ask there because they are also crying. Maybe, Mr. Speaker, you will be the one to go to speak to the one person who runs this country on our behalf. Because you see, the moment it's not only garbage, everything, once it comes to the time of decommissioning and you don't decommission, it's a problem. Even the NRM itself, I think the time to decommission it came long ago. These problems that we are seeing now as a result of not decommissioning NRM at the right time. So we are now paying the price. This is just one illustration, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank you very much.
Okay, now I have decided to decommission FDC. Oh, Honorable Guzuri is not happy with that. Yes, I had allowed Honorable Christie.
As my colleagues have been saying, we need to segregate waste. But even if we do that without following the right procedures, I don't think anything is going to be done right. In hospitals, we have medical wastes, but we have incinerators where wastes are burnt and they phase up. But here in the local government, I think SCCA is failing to manage the wastes. It would be prudent if wastes are collected and they are burnt. Or maybe if we can get bigger incinerators where wastes can be collected and burnt, instead of just collecting them and leaving them to make bigger heaps. When you look into this, these wastes are going also to cause different diseases to these people in Kiteezi, because Kiteezi is a slum area. we are focusing on these other people who are nearby the dumping area where the incidents occurred. But then how about these other people who are in the nearby villages? They are going to end up getting typhoid, malaria, dengue fever, and so on. And this, as Honorable Christian was talking about the